I've been an accountant now for 10 years. My wife and I have a $1 million net worth, but it wasn't always this amazing with our personal finances. Like, we made plenty of mistakes along the way. So in this video, I want to specifically talk about 3 different times that me and my wife made this big mistake in our personal finances, and that probably set us back months, years. And hopefully this video will help one or you or two of you out there that are going through similar situations, because the best way to learn is by learning from other people ahead of you, maybe, that have failed and failed pretty badly. That's at least what I found, right? Just looking to the people ahead of you, to your peers ahead of you maybe, and trying to figure out what they did wrong so you can just avoid those same mistakes. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing was actually about 10 years ago, and I was about to make the biggest purchase of my life, my entire life, which at the time was just a car, right? But it wasn't just a car. It was, I was driving around beaters for a really long time, and eventually I was like, I had money, I could buy. It wasn't a brand new car, it was like a year or two old or something like that. And it was the day before I was supposed to go pick it up at the dealership, and it was a Friday afternoon at work. I was sitting at work, and I just had this panic attack, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I have the money in my checking account to be able to write them a check to buy the car tomorrow at the dealership. Like, I don't think I have the amount of money that I need to have. So I panic. I look at my balance in my checking account, and my heart just like sunk. I was like $1,500 short or something like that. And I was like, oh my, like, I totally blew it. So I quickly did like a transfer. I had money in my savings, right? But it wasn't in my checking. So I did the transfer. This was like late on Friday afternoon. By the time I went there on Saturday, I gave them the check, and I sort of begrudgingly, I was like, can you not cash this until like Monday or Tuesday? And they didn't love that very much, as you can imagine, right? And it kind of delayed the sale of the car, which was kind of annoying. I do have the car to this day, so it did work out. But that was my first like hell no moment in my personal finances. Like, again, this was 10 years ago, and I said at the beginning I've been an accountant for 10 years, so it was kind of right when I had a job in the career path that I chose in college, right? I went to school for accounting. I had non-accounting jobs right out of school. They were like skill adjacent, we'll call them, right? But it wasn't necessarily like traditional accounting. And so I finally like land this job, and I'm like doing well. I'm gonna save money, buy this car, and I just didn't even know how much money was in my checking account, okay? Super embarrassing. Like, I'm supposed to be this guy with numbers and finances, and I'm supposed to like just have all my stuff in order when it comes to that, and I just did not at all. That was really embarrassing. It was such a gut check for me. So this is essentially how I started budgeting, okay? And it wasn't traditional budgeting like you might think of now, and I eventually got to that point, but it literally started as, okay, I need to know to like the nearest thousand how much money is in my checking account. Like, it's probably a good thing to know, right? So that's how it started. And then it's like, well, I should probably know if I'm making more money or losing money every month. Like, basically, is my checking account going up or down at the end of each month? Okay, so then I started tracking that. And that was sort of how I was budgeting. And at the time, obviously, I didn't have many obligations, so the money kept going up and up and up, which was, great. And then I was like, well, I probably need to know not only like the money that's going in and the bank's going up, but like where the money's going, and like what are the big expense categories. And that way I could see like if it's aligning towards, my life goals, which at the time I didn't know what those were, but I was like, I don't know, am I wasting money? So then I downloaded this like rinky dinky app on my phone. So every time I went to the store or did a thing, I entered it in and I put it in as like groceries or gas or whatever. And I started tracking it, and then I started seeing habits that I was doing, and I tried to fix them and just progress that on. So that was sort of my budgeting trajectory, right? And I think a lot of people get intimidated when they aren't starting anything with their personal finance to go to like this full on, budget template or a budgeting app or whatever to track it. And it's just like, it's very overwhelming. So if that's you, if you're the person that feels overwhelmed with this, just start with something. Like, start tracking something, okay? Because truly the foundation of your personal finances is tracking, no matter what the goal is. So if you want to start budgeting, you want to know how much money's in your bank account. If you want to pay off your debt faster, if you want to know your net worth, there's all these things that you need to be tracking. It's the foundation. So that's literally step one in your finances. So I hope that little failure of mine helps you. Now, another common thing that I see people doing incorrectly is something that I also did incorrectly back in the day, right? I started budgeting my money. My checking account was going well because I was trying to be a little more efficient with where I was spending my money. And I had, extra money, we'll call it, that I could just kind of throw around. And at the time I was like, okay, let me do investing because that's a financial goal of mine. I want to, build wealth, right? But I didn't really know that there was like a lot of ways to invest. So I just thought like invest, right? And I started getting obsessed with like following different people, listening to different ideas about specific stocks that they're investing in and why they're going to be like massive in 20 years. I can't tell you how many 30-minute or 45-minute webinars I watched. And at the end, for them just to not tell me what the stock is and say, hey, buy our annual thing and we'll tell you what the stock is. I was like, oh, screw you guys. Anyway, I eventually started buying some individual stocks, okay? And probably not the best way to go about it when you're first starting out, right? So I invested maybe hundreds of dollars into just these stupid random stocks that I knew nothing about, by the way. And I was just kind of listening to people on the internet. I have never been more anxious in my life. And it was like $500 or $600, okay? Kind of all at once, but I was staring at my brokerage account all day at work. It was so distracting. I was just watching the greens and then the red and green. And it was like, I was, up or down like $12 and I was just like freaking out. I was like, oh my God, this is like my real money. What am I doing? And at the end of the day, what I sort of learned is like, I didn't realize it at the time, but the goal of mine for investing was actually like a longer term horizon. Like I shouldn't have been trying to get rich quick with these like stocks that like boost up and then I sell. Like you see all these people, right? They're like, oh, I made X dollars in 2 days on this one stock. And it's like, what, how? So you try to like follow the trend, but it's obviously way too late, right? So what I would do if I was starting all over is the first $10, $20, $30,000 of my investment portfolio is index funds, broad market index funds, okay? And I was sort of doing this, I guess, when I was at work with the 401k. It's sort of a broad general fund, right? Many stocks and different variations, but that's what I would have done differently instead of just like throwing hundreds of dollars at these one-off stocks that I knew nothing about, right? And that's the best part of like broad market index funds. You don't need to really understand it. It's good to know, right? But you don't have to like know about each of the, say, 500 companies in the S&P 500, which is how they measure the US market, right? The top 500 companies. So things like that where you're investing into just like a basket of companies. And that way, if 10 of them completely eat shit, it's like, well, the bottom 10 just keep cycling out anyway. And then you have the huge companies on the top like Amazon and Apple and all this other stuff, right? So that was a big mistake that I was making. And I think a lot of people do this too. It's like you see the flashy things on social media now and you're just trying to like follow people that you're trying to follow, investment plays that people are doing or like find the new passive income hack. And I think everyone's just trying to make quick money without doing the work. Like you want the outcome without putting in the effort, okay? And kind of the analogy that I like with this is going back to the tracking, right? Like a budgeting, for example. That's the foundation of your building. Too many people are skipping that step and they're going to the third floor, which is this like investing thing. Like, oh, what's the cryptocurrency? What's the new passive income stream for October? What's the thing that's going to make me $1,000 in a week? It's like they want to get the outcome of like feeling rich or having money, but they don't want to put in the work and the foundation. Like they just want their floating third floor and they think that that's going to work. And that's just not true. And again, this is me also talking to my old self. And the last mistake that I made, and then at this point it was me and my wife, we had money just kind of sitting in accounts and we both had debt and we were just being super lazy about paying it off. Like we were just paying like the minimums plus a little bit. We had money in our accounts. Like it was just the least efficient thing that we could have done. And again, we were just buying things for like our house, like a chair or a pair of shoes. And it's like, we didn't need those. That was just like extra thing. Or we go out to this like lavish dinner with friends or something just because we, had money and we thought it was cool. It was such like a waste because looking back, we could have been debt free so much earlier, like way earlier. Okay. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it doesn't take much more money towards your debt to pay it off a lot faster. Like if you were to enter all of your debts into a debt payment calculator, for example, there's one down in the description of this video if you're interested. But if you did that, put in how much money you're actually putting towards your debt and then increase it by $100 and then see how much interest you'd be losing off of that just by an extra $100 and how many months and years you'd be saving of becoming debt free just by an extra $100. Sometimes it's thousands of dollars and it's years of your life of saving to become debt free. To me, becoming debt free, except for your mortgage, right? That's different. But like credit cards, your loans, your whatever, student loans, getting rid of that first is so important because now that I know what I know, I'm 35 years old. I wish I had, paid off my student loans a lot faster. I wish my wife, no offense to her, but she brought in some credit card debt into the relationship, and I wish she had like paid that off sooner. Just like, I wish we had known sooner. Just that debt is such a wealth killer. So when you say, for example, that say you have $30,000 in debt, okay? And you're in your mind, you're like, okay, I have 30K of debt that I have to pay off. Depending on how fast you pay it off, you might have $35, $40, $45, $50,000 of debt because you're not really thinking about the interest that you're paying over that time horizon, right? That's why that debt payment calculator could be helpful for you, because you can actually see how much interest is going to be slapped on top of your debt. So the 40K is just your debt, just what you owe other people. And then the interest is the money that they're making off of you because you needed to, buy the car, get the degree, get the personal loan, right? And I understand, I'm not saying don't get the car, don't get the degree, right? But just as an example, debt is such a wealth killer for you, and it's a wealth generator for the people that you owe money to, right? And there's complete like industries and companies that just like feed off of people that are just paying them interest for their whole entire life. And I don't want you to be one of them, okay? I want you to become, debt free, and I want you to be able to reach your financial goals faster. Because imagine if you were paying off, say, $500 of debt every single month. You paid it off, you got debt free, and then that $500, you didn't put it in your lifestyle. You put it towards your other wealth goals, right? You put it into investing, and then similar thing there. Now we're looking at good interest. You could type in like a compounding interest calculator on Google, right? And then you could start putting numbers there, and you could watch your interest go like this instead of, you're going like this with your debt, right? We want a positive interest, right? We want interest working for us. We don't want interest working against us. So I hope this video was helpful for you. 3 failures of mine that had I avoided them, and had my wife and I avoided these, we would have been even wealthier, even faster, and we would have been just further along than we are now. And I know you're probably sitting there thinking the same thing. So hopefully these stories helped you. Let my mistakes help you move forward faster, okay? And let me know down in the comments what you want to see next. I'm uploading daily videos, and I will see you in the next one.